Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, hey, hopefully you're doing well. You are ready for the show. Today on the program, we have, well, of course, in the second part, computer and technology news, where we're going to try to keep you up to date on everything that's happening out there. We try to do it ourselves, and we can barely do it. So, although I say that often, I gotta admit, it's been a lot easier lately. Not a lot of people are doing very interesting things, but that's okay. But in the first part of the show, something that is interesting, and I'm hoping that a lot of you are, can definitely glean some kind of useful information out of this. And we're going to be talking all about the service called Postal.io. And this is going to be about, especially for you small, medium business owners, this is going to be about marketing and how to do it better. And of course, traditional, Postal. And, because we always think about here on the show, we've talked about online ads, we've talked about how to market on social media, things like that. And, there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different costs, benefit, strategies that you could do. So to really break it down for us, talk about the merits of this, how this particular service works, and everything is going to be the co-founder and CEO of the company here in just a moment. But before we do that, computeramerica.com, gotta plug that. That's where you'll find everything, including a link to our guest website. You'll find past shows, future shows, podcasts, articles, reviews, notes, just everything that we do. Computeramerica.com, that's all you have to remember. Find us on social media, blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and get started. So, as I said before, Postal.io co-founder and CEO, Mr. Erik Kostelnik, and hopefully I said that right. I think I did, and I'm happy that he's able to join us. And Erik, how you doing? Welcome on to Computer America.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Great to be here.
Yeah, our pleasure. And so obviously, this is going to be something that we haven't really talked all that much about. So this is going to, you're going to fill in a lot of gaps about marketing and strategy and that kind of thing, and how a company can, really kind of get started in something like this. But speaking of the start, let's start from the beginning. Give us a bit of background on Postal.io. When did it really begin? And your background. How did you find yourself, kind of founding a company like this?
Yeah, thanks for the intro. So I've been in technology now for over 10 years. I've been in sales and marketing roles since I came out of college in 2001. So my background is specifically in sales and marketing and technology. I went through a bunch of sales roles, selling everything from cars to power tools to AI software. And as I started making my way into being an entrepreneur, I started identifying opportunities for engagement. So I thought that the way that people engaged was as important as the technology they engaged through. And so the first business that I founded was called TextRecruit.com. And TextRecruit was essentially a business that took all the emails that were being sent out there for recruiting and converted them into text message and gave a platform for recruiters to text message to candidates about job opportunities. And ultimately, that led to a very big business. We were able to scale that business over 4 years, grow it to about $30 million in revenue with over 2,000 customers, some of the biggest customers in the world. And we sold that business about 2 years ago to a company called iSIMS, which is now owned by Vista Equity Group. That started making me think more about actually the engagement challenges that you have in sales and marketing. And for me, it was really interesting to see that all of the existing systems of action, the way people engage with sales and marketers, was going through digital. And so you have your emails, you have your phone calls, you have your advertisements, and you have your text messages that you're engaging folks in this digital world. And what I had noticed was that there was still a significant amount of action happening in the offline world. There's about 20% of revenue based on a HubSpot statistic and research about how people are spending money. They're spending 20% of the revenue or 20% of their budgets in this offline world, meaning direct mail, gifting, donations, things that are happening in this in not in the digital side of things. So you have this massive industry, multi-billion-dollar industry that had focused on building technology for digital advertising and digital engagement, but this whole entire world of offline engagement was left alone. And essentially, you had you had salespeople and marketers, buying postcards and filling out handwritten notes and buying a bunch of swag and sending things out to their customer base, but none of that was tracked, and there was no system for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the idea that I had around Postal. Not so much on the B2C side of things, which we've seen a tremendous amount of impact of how B2C leverages offline. You go on Instagram or you go on Amazon, and next thing you know, you have a catalog in your mailbox, which you
Right.
generally read. Like the engagement for that B2C is like really strong. But what I found was like the B2B world, when you're selling either technology or you're selling services, or you're a financial advisor or an insurance broker, that B2B transaction needs an offline engagement as well, and there wasn't a system for that. So I decided to join my co-founder from TextRecruit and start Postal, which is a automated platform that helps with the creation, management, and delivery of personalized direct mail, gifts, and donations. And essentially, we've now built the technology to support this marketplace, which, if you think about it, it's kind of like the Amazon of business.
Mm-hmm.
All of the things that people send and engage with in our marketplace. And now we're able to build a technology that integrates into those systems of action and record to help drive this engagement and scale the engagement of offline. And so now, coupled with your digital marketing strategy, we believe now this offline engagement strategy with Postal is going to be able to help you increase conversion rates through your sales and marketing funnel.
So and if you could, yeah, and like you said, I think that a lot of listeners out there, because B2C does happen so often, business to consumer happens so often, that they're very familiar with it.
Yeah.
What were some of the what were some of the shortcomings? Like if they have B2C so figured out, what were
Right.
in your mind some of the pain points for B2B?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so when we started taking a look at how B2C actually was leveraging direct mail, it was very automated. So you have, you do something in the online world. So you visit a website at your favorite clothing store, or you're on Instagram and you like a picture. The flow of personal data, we all know, privacy is basically non-existent now on the B2C side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Big consumer businesses know everything about you, and they especially know where you live. Like the government knows where you live. All these B2C companies know where you live, right? So it's very easy to find out what actions you're taking online, and then automate a personalized brand opportunity for you based on what you're viewing online in the real world, right? So this tactile experience, and they've been able to do that very easily. Now, it's easy for brands to do that, right? So it's very easy for a brand to say, hey, I've got all these consumers out there. I'm going to take this brand and present them with this opportunity to purchase whatever this brand is offering. But in the B2B world, it's less about the brand selling to other businesses or other individuals that are buyers in these businesses.
Hmm.
And it's more about the individual that is selling to those businesses. You have salespeople and you have marketers, right?
Right.
So it's not as easy as automating actions that happen online and sending content that is, through automation to these buyers in the B2B world. It actually has to be from the salesperson or from the marketer. And B2B operates differently in a sense that they like more personalization. They like to know that, hey, this sales rep is trying to sell me something, and I've gotten all these emails and phone calls from them. And now I'm receiving something in the mail from them that is branded, but is personalized to me. And so it was very important for us to build technology that actually helped with the personalization of direct mail and gifting to ensure that engagement that they're having with that salesperson was very similar to the engagement they have via email, right? So email marketing, email automation, phone calls, all of those things, direct mail had to operate
Hmm.
in the exact way that those did. And so that was a very hard technology lift for us to try to build a system that was as easy to use as an email automation system or an advertising system, with all the triggers and integrations and ways to engage and design these pieces of paper that we're now sending on behalf of our customers, and that it's in sequence, that it's actually happening in sequence as they're doing digital marketing. They're able to actually integrate this offline marketing. So that's how it was very difficult to figure out how to do this correctly in the
Well,
B2B world. And
yeah.
it was a technology problem. So
Yeah, and really, obviously being with Computer America and being in kind of the marketing business for so many decades,
sure.
we've seen it definitely evolve, and the advent of the
Yeah.
internet and the further just everyone coming onto the internet, being able to digitally advertise, and really that was
It's so easy.
yeah, and ease was definitely one of them, but the other one was cost effectiveness. That you could
Hmm.
reach a million people, and it would cost you pennies compared to what traditional mailing things would.
Totally.
So that's kind of my question: is that if digital has been kind of it kind of feels like at this point, and this is just maybe it's just me personally,
Sure.
that if I get an email in my inbox and let's say by some miracle it doesn't hit my spam filter,
Right.
I'm still pretty likely to just kind of delete it. But then
Right.
I kind of get the feeling that if something is physically sent to me, I flip through a number of magazines that try to sell us stuff like replacement hardware for the show and technology
Sure.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I flip through it because it's just kind of tactile, it's physical, it's in my hands. Do you feel like other people can kind of get the same sentiment where digital, it works, it's effective, but at the same time it's cheap and very, very disposable, whereas something physical, that's a little different in today's day and age?
100%. And what we like to call it is pattern interrupt. You have this natural pattern as a salesperson to send out 100 emails, make 100 phone calls, right? That's the book,
Yeah.
right? I've been doing that for forever, right? And so because that's the book, everybody's got that book now. Everybody's got that now. And so how do you differentiate yourself as a business and as a salesperson? And it's not like we're creating, there's very rarely do you see technology creating anything that's brand new. Right. You
Hmm.
can kind of look at like quantum computing and like AI as being brand new, but even quantum computing and AI has been around for 20, 30 years.
Everything is
Direct
very
mail,
iterative. Yeah.
it's absolutely right. So you're just taking what is old and making it new again. And we were so successful with taking a text message and building technology around a text message and making that structure and integrated and trackable and reportable in recruiting. And we're so successful in that. When you look at the sales and marketing industry and how many sales and marketers there are out there in B2B, and you build a system that actually can help with tactile engagement and creating pattern interrupt in a sales process, that becomes very powerful because it's and from a cost perspective, you made a great point, Ben, about the cost side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And very early on, in your marketing automation platforms like your Eloquas and Marketos, and as HubSpot started being developed and Constant Contact, all of those early email automation platforms, like it was super cheap to get in there and send 1,000 emails. And then it made it even cheaper when Google advertising and Facebook advertising came in, and LinkedIn advertising, and started giving the availability to market your business through these CPCs or CPMs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very cheap to do all those. And guess what? It was impactful too, because oh my God, I can automate all my email now. Not everyone could automate their email. So companies that invested in this technology had a leg up, right? They're like, oh my God, I can send 1,000 emails every single day, and that just increased my exposure. And I could do 1,000 clicks if I got enough money, and that'll increase my exposure. Those that didn't have that technology lost. Now what's happened is that everyone has that technology. All businesses have some sort of marketing automation and sales automation.
Right.
And what you found now is that advertising is not the cheapest offering. It costs $1 to send a note card through Postal. $1, right? It's like less than $1. It's like 69 cents, right?
Right.
So do you know what the average cost per click right now is for sales and marketing? I know because we're doing cost per click as well.
Yeah. And I've
It's $6.
It's $6.
It's $6. Okay, $6 to just get a click. Okay, so and that's on Google.
Right.
On LinkedIn, $13. And some companies are paying anywhere upwards to like $50 to $100 cost per click or cost per lead.
Yeah.
Cost per lead for enterprise software generally is between $300 and $600. Right? So if you think about the cost that these companies are spending on generating interest just on digital, and having to cut through all of that noise that happens in digital, with now everybody using digital, it becomes very difficult. And to your point on email, dude, there's 125 billion business emails sent a day. A day. 125 billion. So
yeah, so you're saying just something that definitely just interrupts the flow of things is just going to stand out, and hey, that's definitely going to be something like Postal. Though I got to say that the other part is that the ease of it all, and I guess that's obviously where you come in. But I think a lot of people saw sending something as you take one employee's time, it could take them an hour to put something together, or multiple days to send multiple packages. Where do you feel something like Postal really stands out when it comes to effort versus what you get back?
Yeah, so that was the key challenge, is that like when we were taking a look at the market, and we said, okay, how is this being done currently? The way it was currently being done, and this was like in big businesses, they had these massive marketing teams and massive marketing budgets, and they had a bunch of interns. And all these interns were responsible for taking notes and like these pre-printed postcards and writing handwritten notes, or taking postcards and getting them printed and then stamping them and sending them off. And then you have all of these like books or swag or gift baskets that are being now warehoused in places that you can like say, okay, I needed to go here, but most of it was done internally. So you had like a marketing closet that would manage all this stuff that you were sending out. And it was extremely manual. So for us, it was like, hey, let's just take what's being done manually today and create a platform to do it much more effective and in sequence. So we had to do a couple things. Number one, we had to build a bank inside of the platform. We had to build a place to where you could put money, and then a marketplace that you could go shop for all the same stuff that you have in your marketing closet, and as well as all the stuff that you want to send in direct mail. So being able to configure a direct mail piece and brand a direct mail piece with the same configuration as email. So meaning that you'll be able to do mail merge inside of the messaging for all these and make it personalized from the rep. So now you're able to take all that stuff that was in the marketing closet and all that intern's time, and now have Postal, and give Postal accounts to all your sales reps so they can personally send postals when they're sending emails and when they're making calls.
That
And
makes
all of
sense.
that
Yeah.
is approved through the admin. So the admin says, these are all the approved gifts. These are all the approved direct mail pieces that our team can use. This is the approved messaging. And then all those individual reps will now be able to, instead of having to go in the marketing closet and like do a handwritten note, they'll be able to use our AI handwriting. They'll be able to use our mail merge, and they can send 100 postals as easy as they send 100 emails.
So,
And that was the key, is
yeah,
that ease of use.
and I apologize if I'm making you repeat yourself, but let's say
No,
a
no,
company out there is making whatever widget, and they want to send, let's say, phone cases, because I get marketed a
sure.
lot of phone cases,
Yep.
and they want to be able to send out, product samples or things like that. Do they send that directly to Postal, and then you kind of take it from there as they see fit to send it out, or is it only, like you said, kind of like the cards and the other swag and things like that?
So yeah,
Yeah,
let me explain how our system is set up.
sure.
So number one, we're not a logistics company.
Yeah.
That is number one. Two, we are a technology company. So we've built this technology platform and this engagement platform to integrate into any vendor that sends anything that has the ability to accept the order from
Hmm.
us, from our customers, right? Give us tracking information and send that package. Okay, so logistically, you have vendors that do that at scale. You have very big providers of swag, right? So you have companies like SwagUp and Swag.com, and 4imprint. And
Gotcha.
what they're doing is they're like managing inventory for their customers. They print all this stuff and they manage that inventory. But what's happening is that it only exists in the manual outside world. Now they can be inside the marketplace. And because they're in the marketplace, along with all the flower shops and all the things on Amazon, all the books that we have in, as well as all those localized vendors that are getting killed right now because their foot traffic is gone,
Hmm.
our goal is like, hey, let's introduce them to the B2B world and get them into this platform so they can, if they have logistics, as in they can package something up and send it and tell us when they're sending it, then we want to pump them business. We want you to be able to, if you're in San Francisco, send your candidate or your contacts Blue Bottle coffee. Like, why wouldn't you want to send that directly from, or your just local coffee shop down the street?
Hmm.
So our marketplace, the postal marketplace, the idea is that this is going to be the kind of the Amazon of the business world. So we want to bring everybody into this marketplace so they can search for these things, approve these things that they want to send, design these things that they want to send, and then move them to the approval process so their reps and their marketers can send that in sequence or in week workflow that they have. And that's the key, is that we don't want to be a logistic company. We want to bring in all of those businesses that can make up this marketplace and then have customers leverage us to do the actual technology piece. And that is integrating, pulling all the data from the sends, ensuring that the budget is managed correctly, ensuring that you're able to customize and configure all these things correctly, and that it's trackable, and there's privacy compliance and GDPR compliance and all those other things that companies need in order to do business. So
Right.
that's the concept.
Yeah, thank you. That definitely helped. Certainly a bit. I mean, really connecting all these different things that traditionally someone had to, I guess, kind of keep track manually. And I can only assume that within teams, like if let's say an
Yeah,
organization as large as let's say Intel or IBM or something like that,
sure.
they,
Yeah,
there's not just one marketing person. There's multiple, and
right,
they work in
right.
teams and they have entire efforts. You have, I'm assuming, solved that as well to be able to work in conjunction. You mentioned things like admins and just typical marketers.
Yep.
You can work in teams pretty easily, right?
Yeah, so that was another thing that we learned early on, was that a company is not just like one company or individuals. It's structured in teams, and each one of those teams has different budgets. So you also have to configure the technology to allow for different billing accounts. So you have your teams that are, let's say you have your marketing team, you have your SDR team, which is like your sales development rep, your outbound folks. You have your enterprise sales team, and maybe you have your mid-market team,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all those teams operate independently, and the content that those individuals are sending is also different. You have the stuff that your enterprise sales reps are sending might not be the same thing that your marketers are sending. It certainly is not the same messaging, right? It's going to be more personalized, while marketers send more brand information and
Right.
more top of the funnel type of stuff. So for me, building a technology that actually allowed us to put in teams so you can manage that and then report on those, and most importantly, budget on those and offer the budget per user, then from a structural and hierarchical standpoint, you have a better system that can scale to very large enterprise organizations. So if Intel wanted to come and use this tomorrow, we'd be set in order for them to use Teams and be able to manage all their sends and track all their sends and pull it back to Salesforce or any other CRM that they're using.
So here's a question that I should have asked earlier, but
Sure.
hey, I haven't yet. And this is something that obviously you have started other, kind of technology-driven companies. And
Yeah.
I have to ask you, what was the major shift here for you starting a company like this? Is this advancements in artificial intelligence, machine learning, or is this advancement, or is this something just, no one ever took the effort to really develop an app like this? What were the stars aligning that you thought now is the time to bring something like Postal.io?
Yeah. So number one, there's been this movement of sales technology and marketing tech. I mean, Martech has been around for a while, but sales tech is going through this birth right now of automation and tools that salespeople use in order to complete the sales process. And there's a lot of analytic, platforms that are around that. So because sales is going through this birth, and marketing has been able to leverage these online marketing tools, those systems like absolutely needed the offline because they operated 100% of the digital. So they needed the offline, and we talked a little bit about that earlier. The AI and machine learning components of this, and I was able to take some courses from MIT around machine learning and AI, and really understanding the business applications for those, and where there's opportunity for AI. I think that there's absolutely a recommendation engine that we will have in the future that will tell you what to send, who to send it to, and when to send it. That is what we're working towards.
Mm-hmm.
But that is in the future. Because we're kind of in just the initial phases of building the business, we're just taking everything that's manual and making it automated and building a system around it. And that for us that makes a very big company based on the size of the market. And then being able to build AI and machine learning into the platform will eventually drive us into the next growth of our business, and that is, being the provider of technology that is AI based, that is recommended, and actually recommending the flows and the messaging and the content that you want to send on the outside world, and the offline world. Very similar to some of the technology that you see in AI for marketing. Now, AI and digital marketing needs to happen first, and
Yeah.
needs to be great before I can do that in the offline world. And it's even not there in the online world. There still hasn't been an AI technology built for sales and for marketing that is something that is groundbreaking. And is automating certain manual workflows or making
We've
things more effectively. So at
Yeah,
least what I've seen.
we,
Yeah.
we, we've definitely followed AI, for a while now, and being able to see the growth of it in a lot of different sectors. And, kind of the first thing in my mind is like a doctor, where
Yeah.
currently artificial intelligence is being used as like kind of like a pre-screening, where it says that, there may be
Totally.
an 85%, and then you have a doctor. You sound like you're in the same place where here's what we recommend, here's the marketplace, here's some automated tips, what do you want to do? And you assist marketers in doing what it is that they already do. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the ultimate goal is to become the marketer for companies, is that they can come sign up for your platform. And again, like you said, years away, it's still in development. But if a company comes to you one day and they say, I need a marketing strategy, they go, all right, upload your logos, upload your stuff, we'll handle it from there, we'll get you the best return that we know how.
Right.
We'll do it for you. That seems to be
Right.
the goal.
And we won't do it. The technology will do it for you.
Yeah.
Right. So 100%. And when I say replace marketers, our job is not to replace marketers. Like, marketers are going to always be there. You're always going to need someone to manage the machine, right? We
Right.
know, like, the robot handlers that everybody talks about. So sales and marketing, I love that you drew the correlation between being a doctor and what AI is doing for being a doctor. I have a friend that has a radiology AI business that
Mm-hmm.
actually is able to detect cancer at a higher rate when putting it through the AI, and then assisting the doctors to identify, these problems at
Right.
scale. Because computers, as they advance in the processing speed, obviously are they can do, you know, so much more than what humans can do. The thing that computers can't do, and having everybody's having a lot of challenges, even with the thousands and hundreds of thousands of man hours from PhDs on building AI systems and cognitive learning, is actually replicating the cognitive brain
Yeah.
of a human. And so, because being a doctor is not just reading the report and deriving what the problem is, there's an engagement with that patient and understanding what cognitively what that person is feeling and how they're feeling, and then taking the data, overlaying that, and making a prescription. Right,
Right.
this is what you need to do. Sales is the exact same thing. It's your understanding, so you can take all the messages and signals that you get from your platforms that you're engaging with,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's your advertising, it's your marketing, it's your email, it's your postal, right? All those signals that you get, and then you empower the salesperson with a message that they can deliver to that prospect, which is prescriptive. It's a prescriptive message. So that, to me, is like, yes, eventually we're going to get to a point to where the technology is so good that the doctor or the salesperson it's going to be an easy job, right? It's an order taker at that
Right.
point. You're taking the direction of what needs to happen. And eventually, and this is way far in the future, but eventually, the importance of that position is depleted, because the technology can then speak to the end buyer, and the technology can speak to the end patient. So it's a very similar concept, and I know we're
Yeah.
very far away from that, but yeah, I think lawyers need to be worried.
Yeah, we've and really that's what artificial intelligence is really good at, and really that's what marketers do, is that AI is able to get hopefully good information and lots of it, and then put it in a way that that is kind of usable, and that kind of thing. And trust me, we've talked about data, essentially data custodians who just try to feed the right data in, but yeah, an AI can do that better than a human can. You mentioned doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor can't look at a million slides of cancer and kind of say, well, based on the million that I've seen, this one looks 85% positive or whatever. Same thing with marketing. We've analyzed all these analytics, and hey, this is what we kind of recommend. So we're getting there, and you're working on it. Let's talk about some of these other kind of aspects of the business, because obviously you can get, you mentioned things like getting the mailers out in order. You can get them to the right people. You can have the right kind of incentive inside of it. Looking at the website here, things like gift cards and, books and things like that.
Donations, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about how, let's say someone who is not very familiar with offline, because, like I said, online's so cheap and easy. Anyone can do it. Now it's time to go offline with it. Are there any resources that you give businesses when they start to use something like Postal?
Yeah, so first off, we're free for up to 3 users. Okay, so it's called pay as you go,
Mm-hmm.
and all you're doing is you're paying a transaction fee. So it's not technically free, but it is pay as you go, and you pay a transaction fee. Low, it's only 5%. And our prices, we have no interest in marking up the prices of our marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that our vendors have competitive market costs on our platform too. So we're just putting an extra 5% on that, so we can obviously pay for the technology and then ultimately help you with value.
Right.
They're going to come in, and they're going to be assigned a technical account manager on our side, and that technical account manager essentially is responsible for the onboarding. The design of the direct mail inside of Postal is actually a design editor. So you can go in. Anybody that's familiar with like design editors like Adobe or those other systems that provide you the ability to import images and configure files, that's going to be the same experience that they're going to come in. So a lot of marketers already have their like marketing content, and they just want to be able to take that marketing content and put it on paper, and then be able to choose like whatever handwriting you want to have on that, which we have AI handwriting, which actually helps. It's real handwriting that we've configured into a font, and it's unbelievably real. And then you choose pen color and all those things, as well as just being able to configure classic fonts that have customization and personalization in them. So if you're sending to 100 contacts, you want to have a personalized a postcard coming from a rep. It could have something on the front saying, "Hey Ben," and it could say, "Hey Erik," and like it just sends out and it just customizes, just like an email automation, right? So we have technical account managers that can help you understand how to use the system. At this time, we don't provide design resources or professional services. So all of the items like the books and gift cards and donations and flowers, all the stuff, treats, all the stuff you can find in our marketplace, which we'll continue to build on. That is going to be pretty straightforward. Like you're going to see what it is. You're going to be able to select it for your reps or your marketers to use, and then they can go through that and send those. So as far as like our job is to make sure our customers are successful and they're finding that, oh my God, I don't have to do this manually anymore. And I can just do this through this platform, and it like integrates with everything. And then I can report to see how much I spent and what my cost per spend is, which we call cost per touch. And then they can figure out if it's being impactful or not.
So, and talk about some of those integrations, because I think a large part of this is making sure that, adopting a new platform can be challenging, but assuming that it integrates with all of the previous platforms, then you're good to go. Have you made any kind of partnerships with, things like the United States Postal Service? Have you made any partnerships with, any other services like that people may already be using?
Yeah, so USPS is our main source of delivery. So we are going to be massive customers of the United States Postal Service. So we're big fans of the USPS. We also leverage, all the other logistic platforms that our vendors use, right? So our vendors, deliver through FedEx and UPS and USPS and the other logistics companies. So there's basically like two components to this. There's your vendors, which are the people, the companies and the people that provide the experience in the marketplace. So it's all those gifts in that gift marketplace. It's all of the vendors we use for direct mail. It's all of the donations or charity vendors that we have that you can select from in that marketplace. And those vendors we're always building. Local vendors, we want local vendors to come to us and start offering, their stuff on our platform so businesses can send these to their business targets. Then you have partners, and partners are the actual technology partners that we integrate with. And so we integrate with Salesforce.com, we integrate with HubSpot, we integrate with a company called Outreach and SalesLoft, which are both sales automation platforms, both massive sales automation platforms. And so now you're able to basically have your systems that you currently use, and you're going to be able to now use Postal inside of those systems. So everything that you configure inside of Postal, it's great. You can be in Postal and use those, but while you're in those other systems, you can use our Chrome extension or the direct integration inside to be able to send those things as you're going through your workflow and looking at those prospects that you have in the system.
That's something that I've definitely learned to appreciate, is that, things just kind of work together. You don't have to completely change everything, and everything just kind of works. So,
and we don't want people just to come to Postal either. We want them to know that, hey, we know that your salespeople work in these systems, and we don't want to take them out of their systems. We want to provide the same value that you have while you're in Postal, while you're in those systems as well.
So let's talk about again, I was talking about what kind of resources, and being paired with someone who can actually walk you through the steps, and being paired with an associate is definitely helpful. Just talk about in general, what would you say are some advice that you would give to people looking to make better connections with their customers?
Yeah, I would say that, first off, you have to know who your customers are, right? You have to have a business process set up currently where you're like, hey, these are our customers, and this is the list of the customers that I have. If that list of customers is on an Excel spreadsheet or it's in a system, you got to have those customers, and you have to understand like the current digital strategy that you have. We want everybody that comes on board to understand that, like, first things first, if you don't have a marketing automation system or some way to send out mass emails, like, you should probably start there, right? But after you've actually designed your marketing automation, and your email automation, and you want to start, and like you're seeing the same response rate, which is super low, right? It's like less than 3%
Hmm.
response rate on cold emails, and you want to start thinking about how to integrate offline and communication into that. Then you come to Postal and we actually tell you, okay, this is how this will all work together, and then we'll help you set it up, and then boom, you're off and running. So I think businesses that are spending money right now on marketing have done some sort of offline marketing, like handwritten notes or sent things across to their customers. Those are perfect fits for us. When you think about the target industries, if you click up on solutions on the site there, and go into industries, we've actually found that these are our target industries. So those companies that are selling software or hardware, from a B2B standpoint, pharmaceutical, healthcare companies, like we see dentists, we see interest on the actual driving business to these outpatient facilities.
Hmm.
Finance professionals, meaning like folks that are financial planners or brokers, real estate brokers, agents, insurance brokers, agents, and then you have your MLM, multi-level marketing companies and franchise companies that are doing a ton of online marketing
Yeah.
that need to shift to offline. So those are the targets.
Yeah, it's and hey, who knew that you, after saying you need to identify your customers, you have identified your customers? That's amazing. And hey, you follow your own advice. So
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to, and I said this at the beginning. We usually talk about online advertising, marketing, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Something that we really focus on for our listeners who are, we have a lot of small business owners here. I got to say though that this was the first time we had heard about this, but we have a question in here about how you differ from your competitors. Yeah, you're probably not the only one in the field who is doing direct to business mailers and things like that.
Mhm.
How do you stand out from the competitors in your field?
Yeah. So what we found is that the competitive infrastructure right now is all based upon the actual asset itself, so the thing that they're sending, and they're very focused on the logistics behind that marketplace concept of like having the thing to send and
Hmm.
being great in sending those things. For us, that was important to get right, but it was more important to create a technology platform that could scale to send anything. So, for our purpose, we've spent the last year and a half on building technology that will solve the problem, and not building a warehousing infrastructure to be able to focus on the asset or the sending of the thing. We want our vendors to come in and manage that infrastructure, and be able to continue adding that infrastructure, much like the Amazons of the world,
Hmm.
and have us be the technology platform for businesses to manage their offline spend. And that's the key differentiator, is that you're going to find a lot of companies that you can send flowers or gifts or whatever, but to really integrate and track inside of the systems that you currently use on the B2B side is a very difficult problem to solve. And you need people that have experience in building technology around solving those engagement problems at scale. And that's where we live.
Yeah, and we already touched on this a little bit on how you hope to see a business like this, kind of evolve, and even the technology behind the business evolve.
Yeah.
But over the next couple of years, how do you see, not just your business, but really the industry at large, kind of shifting? Because 20 years ago, I think that a lot of people claim that the well, I know it's a joke, but like paperless doctor's offices and paperless law offices, and
Right. Right.
everything is digital all the time, forever. That's not, 20 years ago, that was a mantra. Today, we know that's very much not the case. How do you see the next couple of years coming at us?
So first off, digital's not going away. It's only going to get busier because those it's not like they have 100% penetration in the market. Not every single company in the world uses marketing automation. HubSpot has about 70,000 customers. Salesforce has about 150,000 customers, but there are millions of businesses all over the world. And so, for me, I think that when we look at the growth and the opportunity for Postal, there's no reason why this business cannot grow at the same rate that our digital counterparts have grown. So if you look at a Marketo, you look at a HubSpot, Constant Contact, these similar systems, Outreach, SalesLoft, that are billion-dollar companies, and they grew billion-dollar companies over 10 years, 12, 15 years through recessions, which we're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
That is the path that we are looking to take. And then we know that is a very difficult time right now, and it's going to be very difficult over the next 6 to 12 months. Conferences are gone, right?
Yeah.
So handshakes could be gone. Business travel, going to be very tough to get that back on track. How do you create meaningful connections with your customers in the offline world like you used to without those things, right? You have to engage through tactile marketing and offline marketing. So for me, I think there couldn't be a better time to launch this business, even though there's a pandemic going around.
Yeah.
It is what it is. We have to move forward and we have to persevere. And for us, we really like our positioning in the market, and we hope we can have more success in the future.
Yeah, and absolutely, we definitely hope that as well. And our last question here for you is, what is one last thing you'd like our listeners to, know?
Come and sign up. It's free to talk to us. We love talking to businesses and getting their take on how they use direct mail and gifting, and we hope to help out.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to find out more, postal.io is the website. Is that the best place to go?
It's the best place.
All right, perfect. And like I said way at the beginning, computeramerica.com will have a link to the website directly there on our homepage if you'd like to check that out in the show notes. And overall, I got to say this was a very enjoyable interview. And Erik, very, very knowledgeable. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Your passion for marketing shows. I don't think I've ever used those words together in that order, but there you go. And yeah, Postal.io. It's something that we hadn't heard about, but now we know all about it. And Erik, I want to thank you so much for coming on Computer America.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And ladies and gentlemen, again, if you'd like to find out more, postal.io or computeramerica.com. And until next time, Erik, we look forward to an update later in the year, possibly if you're up for it. And until next time, have a good one.
Thank you, sir.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everyone. And we're going to go there. And now we're going to do computer and technology news. And hey, look, a big empty block. So we're going to do computer and technology news. And this is a segment dedicated to, the latest news. So let's go ahead, get started, and just have fun with this. Everyone, computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Now, I think that for our first story, and again, I definitely want to thank our guests for coming on, but our first story is going to be... let's go hardware. Let's go deep hardware. And I'm really looking forward to this. It's something that, Nvidia, they don't often come out with really incredible hardware just on a whim, but turns out, they kind of did. And this is very, very cool. Just released this morning. And this is from VentureBeat. Check this one out. I have never seen something like this, but I'm excited now that I have. Nvidia unwrapped its Nvidia A100 artificial intelligence chip today, and the CEO called it the ultimate instrument for advancing AI. Hey, we were just talking about AI. Now, this thing is incredible. It is 54 billion transistors and 5 petaflops of performance. Think about that. I don't think you can. We need more perspective, but the chip has 54 billion transistors, as we just said, 5 petaflops of performance, or about 20 times more than the previous generation chip Volta. The CEO made the announcement during his keynote at the Nvidia GTC event, which was digital this year. And yeah. And, hey, they even have a picture here of the CEO actually holding it. And it's, he's obviously in his kitchen. This thing is, he's using pot holders. So I can't help but compare it to a large, a large baking sheet full of cookies, except mounted like 6 inches high. Like in terms of computer chips, this thing is as big as probably most people's computers, or bigger even, in fact. Now the A100 chip uses the same Ampere technology that could be used in consumer applications such as Nvidia GeForce graphics chips. In contrast to advanced micro devices, AMD, Nvidia is focused on creating a single microarchitecture for its GPUs for both commercial AI and consumer graphics use. But the CEO said mixing and matching the different elements on the chip will determine whether it is used for AI or graphics. Because obviously, a lot of people out there, they are thinking, oh wow, Nvidia coming out with this amazing new chip. It's going to be great. No, it's the architecture behind these chips, depending on how many, as we said before, transistors are on them. Just 54 billion transistors is not going to be good enough to execute all the polygons and ray tracing and all the little things. Like, you don't need 54 billion ones and zeros to be able to create those kinds of things. No, you'd rather have, I guess, kind of like faster, more robust performance than just strict throughput, I guess. Now, they said that, and so with that being said, this is not going to be the amazing new computer chip or graphics card that you're hoping for, but this is something that supercomputers and artificial intelligence and computer modeling, they will be drooling over this. So they said that the DGX A100 is the third generation of the platform, and they said it essentially puts the capabilities of an entire data center on a single rack, which is amazing. It's something that you definitely want because when it comes to those data servers, the facility is there, and really the only limitation is how many data racks you can fit inside those data centers. And if you can, keep compacting, you can get more in the same amount of space, and it's going to be amazing. He said that it can take the place of a lot of AI systems being used today, saying that you get all the overhead of additional memory, CPUs, and power supplies of 56 servers collapsed into one. The economic value proposition is really off the charts, and that is the thing that is really exciting. So for instance, to handle AI training tasks today, one customer needs 600 CPU systems to handle millions of queries for data center applications. And here we go in the article, they said that cost about $11 million. And it would require 25 racks of servers and 630 kilowatts of power. Like I said, at that scale and at that cost, it's not even about, consumer concerns like, cost and that kind of thing. It's going to cost whatever it's going to cost. We need to get the job done. We need to get this going. And that's where something like this could really shine. He said that with Ampere, this chip, the A100, Nvidia can do the same amount of processing for about $1 million, a single server rack, and 28 kilowatts of power. So they are, 1/11th of the cost, about 1/20th of the power consumption, even, like 1/25th of the power consumption. And hey, that's amazing. He said that that's when you hear Jensen say, the more you buy, the more you save. It's, even at the same time, that singular thing he's holding in his hand with two pot holders, that costs about $1 million. He said it's going to replace a whole bunch of it's going to replace a whole bunch of inference servers, and he said that the throughput of training and inference is off the charts, 20 times off the charts. There you go. The first order of chips is going to the U.S. Department of Energy, and they say that they will use a cluster AI and computing power to better understand and fight COVID. Very, very good use of the chips. They say that 8 of the new A100 Tensor Core GPUs, providing 320 gigs of memory for training the largest AI datasets and the latest high-speed Nvidia Mellanox HDR 200 gigabits per second interconnects. So essentially what they're saying there is that these things can crunch a lot of numbers. It can train itself very, very well, and it looks like they are going to be sending these first to combat coronavirus as best they can. Obviously, you can partition them out, so any other data center that wants to use these things, it's not like, going from 56 down to 1, it doesn't mean that it can only do one process instead of 56 different processes. No, you're able to partition this thing out, and it will be able to do the job of multiple different servers. Let's see. So I think let's see, I'm trying to read through the rest of the article. It's pretty long, and this is obviously covering the announcement that happened this morning. Let's talk about SuperPods real quick. That seems to be the last interesting thing in this article, and then we'll move on from there. SuperPods. They've revealed the next generation DGX SuperPod, a cluster of 140 DGX A100 systems capable of achieving 700 petaflops of AI computing power. That's right. We have moved from just the singular $1 million chipset. Now we are talking about an entire server cluster that can host 140 of them together. They said that InfiniBand interconnects. The company built its own next-generation SuperPod AI supercomputer for internal research in areas such as conversational AI, genomics, probably something to do with genetics, and in autonomous driving. It only took 3 weeks to build the SuperPod, and the cluster is one of the world's fastest AI supercomputers, achieving a level performance that previously required thousands of servers. So you went from thousands down to just a singular one. To help customers build their own A100 powered data centers, they have released the SuperPod reference architecture. So hey, if you're at home and you feel like, man, how do I spend $200 million? Well, hey, maybe build your own 700 petaflop data center. It's pretty incredible, really, what they've done. Let's see. So with that being said, trying to see what else here. Yeah, I think that's about it. What this means for the future of graphics, because obviously this is for artificial intelligence, machine learning, blah, blah, blah. This is not for general consumers, but for general consumers, this technology will eventually work its way down. They're perfecting the 7 nanometer process that they use to build these chips, and future graphics cards are going to be better, faster, and just all around more efficient. And because what they do on the business side, essentially the non-consumer side, directly translates to the consumer side, just to a lesser extent. This research helps pave the way for the next generation of graphics cards. So they're on their way. Don't worry. They haven't forgotten about you. They're just focusing on this at the moment. So with, let's see. So let's go ahead and, real quick, we only have like 2 minutes left, and this is pretty funny. This is an article from Engadget, and just want to mention this. You can see it right up here on the screen. We have a word, a definition. If you're just listening, through the podcast or the radio program, this word does not exist.com. That is an actual website, and you can see it here. These are words that, just raccoony, a stupid or foolish person. There you go. That's what that one means. Or Skyla, a tall, strong smelling of oil popular in perfumery. That's what Skyla means. Now, here's the thing. This is a game changer because maturize, the distribute a word or form a word by rubbing. So obviously it's trying to say moisturize, but it's maturize. These words, because I'm having trouble saying them, what it is the ultimate hack to Scrabble. These words don't actually exist. It's using artificial intelligence to generate nonsensical words accompanied by a seemingly plausible dictionary definition. Now, obviously, if you wanted to, if you wanted to change the definition, no one's going to call you on it because, let's face it, hey, these words don't exist. It's created by a developer, Thomas Dimson, and he uses a neural network designed to create predictive text. And all that predictive text, sometimes it roots out the base word within the English language. And then, of course, at the end of the day, it spits out a not real word, but one that sounds, well, good enough to kind of fool people. So if you'd like to check that out yourself, once again, that was thisworddoesnotexist.com, and you can keep refreshing it. You can get words like scuttlefish. Although cuttlefish is a word, scuttlefish is not actually, but hey, it's trying its best to predict words. So I thought that was pretty funny, it's pretty cute, and it's a good use of predictive text, and really to show that artificial intelligence is not really as far along as you can imagine. It's one thing to look up predefined words and put them, predictively text them to people, but it's a whole nother thing to create words with matching definitions. So everyone, that's about all the time we have here for today. Once again, thank you to Postal.io for being a guest here on the program. Everyone, if you'd like to check out more, computeramerica.com, and until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.